Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon and welcome back. Welcome back to the PorscheCooled Podcast. My name is Michael Barth. This is the podcast where we talk about all things Porsche. Today is Owner's Stories. Today is the day where I get to talk to other Porsche owners, other Porsche enthusiasts from around the world. It's an episode I really enjoy doing. The other episode we do is the one on Fridays, which I do with my mate Steve. And both of these episodes, they get launched. If you're wondering when they come out, if you don't get that little notification from Apple Podcasts or Spotify, best to subscribe with those with your podcast provider because they will give you a notification when we go live. But it's always around 1 p.m. GMT. So this episode is on Tuesdays for Owner Stories, and the other episode with Steve is on Fridays, but both come up at the same time. But just in case, because I know some people said, "Oh, I didn't get a notification from Apple to say your new episode was up," but they always come up on those times. So, like I said, best to subscribe to us, and you'll get the notification for sure. All right, I'm going to rush this intro today because I'm really frantic today. It's Saturday here, and I'm been rushing around all day, and now I'm about to do an Owner Stories, and I've got Eric, and I'm sure he'll be waiting for me because it's 5 p.m. already, and I said it'd be at 5 p.m. my time. So let me get Eric. Eric's coming in from the US. He owns a couple of Porsches. He's got another one in mind. I don't know a lot about Eric's story, so it's going to be another interesting one where I'll be learning along the way with you guys. So give me a second. I'll connect to Zoom and we'll start talking with Eric about his PorscheCooled owner story. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Welcome back to Owner's Stories. Like I said, I was a bit frantic this afternoon. I've been rushing back here to make sure I got here on time for Eric. So today we're joined by Eric, and Eric is coming in from the US, from North Carolina. That's correct, Eric?
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. So thanks, Eric. Thanks for taking the time out and coming on the podcast and telling the listeners your story.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Michael.
So these podcasts, it's about all of us having that shared passion. You know, we all have a different story, and each owner has a different story to tell, as I say, and that's what the PorscheCooled Owner Stories is all about. So today, I like where your story is going to head because I know what you're driving, and so will the listeners because they would have seen it in the title. And I like the combination because it's a combination that I've thought about as well. But before we get into the cars, let's go way back and let's start about when everyone has a first memory of Porsche. They have a first memory of seeing their first 911. Sometimes as people just got into cars in general, and then Porsches came later. What's the first memory? What's the first time when you thought, you started noticing the 911 or you started noticing Porsche as a brand, and you thought, hey, I'm going to get one of those one day?
Yeah, that's good question, and I like that question. It was a moment, and it was a defining moment in my life actually. When I look back now, retrospectively as an adult, but when I was 8 years old. I was walking home and nice sunny day, beautiful day, and I saw a beautiful red Porsche, probably late 70s, early 80s model, parked in my parents' house. So obviously I thought that was strange. As soon as I started pulling up, I could see inside the car was one of my dad's coworkers, and I just remember that sound, and he's pulled away. Didn't get to drive in the car, and I only saw the car one more time, but I remember that moment was so impactful in my life because it was a moment that I was like, just the mystique and the awe of the Porsche kind of hit me. So that's my first memory, and that's I guess that's where the love started.
Fantastic. Yeah, I guess, were you living in a smaller town then? Was it somewhere where there was a lot of 911s or a lot of Porsches, or was it a rare sight to be seen when you actually saw one appear?
I was a Air Force brat. My dad lived in Hickam Air Force Base.
Okay.
So obviously beautiful weather there. So yeah, you were more prone to see vehicles. Where we were living on base housing. You did see some younger guys get those sports cars, but you really didn't quite see it like a 911. It was still a big deal. But yeah, it really jumped out at me. I mean, that it's the iconic, 930s model that, the air-cooled model that everybody, so often thinks about when they think of Porsche.
Yeah. So you see this red 911, you're 8 years old. What happens then? So you finish high school, you start earning money. Do you keep thinking maybe I could get one soon, or does it go out of your mind for a bit and you start driving different cars?
Honestly, I don't know if I ever thought about it. It's like I think it's just life. Like all of us, we get caught up in going up the ladder, and you do have family, and this life happens, and you kind of die to those moments. I think because you always try to do those practical things, saving money and thinking about the future. So, but this like a movie, this script when I was 8 years old, this dream that I had kept on running and running in my mind. And it wasn't until the past year, COVID's been really hard, but I had some major changes at work, transitioning in my personal and professional life, actually. But I got to the point where really in my life, I was like, well, you don't want to live a life of regret. What is it that what do I want to do and get out of this life? And that's when the Porsche kind of started creeping up again.
Okay, so it's it's due to the last sort of 12 months, 18 months of what's happening in the world, and you start thinking about things, and then you decide. So life gets in the way, like all of us. I'm trying to look for your Instagram now. If you're wondering what I'm doing, Eric, I'm just trying to pull it up so I can see your photos at the same time and tell the listeners as well. But I can't seem to get it. So life gets in the way. You start not always in a bad way. Life gets in the way. Things have priorities, and 911s aren't always a priority. We know that. Like 911s are still they're still a luxury. They're still something really special. We're lucky enough to own a 911. We're lucky enough to own a Porsche. Some people will always want one and never get to own one, so we should be grateful for that. So then, you get to the point, and you're talking about 12 months ago, Eric?
Yeah, about the last 12 to 18 months, yeah.
So 12 months ago, you start looking for a Porsche. So what do you start looking for first? So you think, okay, I'm going to buy one now. This is enough. Enough is enough. I'm going to get a Porsche. What do you start looking for?
Well, I think like anything, and especially anybody that's going to research something, you just research the heck out of all the Porsche models. The 911 still seem kind of far off for me. So I did look at some of the more affordable models and the Boxsters and the Caymans and all that. But I kept on going back to 911. I was like, why would I get a Porsche if I don't at least try this thing? So that's when I started really researching the different, because I knew nothing about 911s, the different. I just said, hey, it's a beautiful car, beautiful shape, and it's something special. So that's when I kind of started diving in, watching videos, getting magazines, getting some books, really educating myself on the brand.
So were you set on an air cooled? Were you thinking at first, I want to get an air cooled like the one I remember? Or were you looking at 996s or 997s? What did you start looking for? What were you starting to sort of be attracted to?
Well, I think all the models in the years are beautiful in their own way, and I guess it's more of a personal preference, honestly. I think everybody strives to get as much as they can within their budget, if you do it correctly. But this is not a rational decision because nobody really needs a Porsche. It's more like a want instead of a need. But I did look at certain years, and I did focus on the 997 from 2005 to 12, knowing that there was the IMS and all that stuff. But just for some reason, that shape and how it looked modern but looked old at the same time really appealed to me.
Mm-hmm. So you started looking for a 997. Where you live, was there a lot of 997s available, or were they hard to find? Was there a good supply of good quality models to look for, or did you have to look outside your area?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, where I live in more the eastern part of North Carolina, you really don't see them. I mean, you may see a 911 once every 6 months or something like that. You just don't see them around here. So the dealerships don't have them. The dealership is about 2 hours away, 2.5 hours away. So no, you don't see those type of cars in this area. People have trucks.
Yeah.
being on the East Coast, you have to have the monster truck, which some of those trucks are more expensive than Porsches, right? So.
Absolutely. So you're looking for a 997. So how many do you go through before you eventually settle on one? So you're looking online, you're looking the various sort of sites online. How long did it take you to find the one that you thought, well, I'm going to go and have a look at this? Or did you look at many before you looked at the one you eventually settled on?
Well, this may seem strange to most people because I don't do things like most people, I guess. But I never actually sat in a 911. I never actually drove one, which was interesting. But I mean, that's the great thing about technology. So I felt like I was comfortable enough to actually look at, like you said, there's no cars here. So I had to look online, look at other places. I looked at cars in California and all that. And I started calling dealerships and talking to these people. And I started getting disenfranchised, honestly, with a lot of the salespeople and what I was getting. So I think by luck, honestly, I went to Porsche website and started looking at the Porsche USA website. And that's where I kind of got to. And I saw a vehicle there, and it turned out the vehicle that I purchased. But I saw a vehicle there, and there's a couple of reasons why I think the Porsche thing is still appealing. A lot of people probably want to do it, is because a lot of the salespeople, they do know their brand, they know the product. They're a little bit more transparent than maybe typically other dealerships. And even if you pay a little bit higher premium, I think it's well worth it. Because their reputation is all they have at these places, so I felt more comfortable going with that.
Okay, that's a good point actually. So it's your first 911, it's your first Porsche. You don't, you've read stuff online, you've never driven one, you don't know that much about them, about how they sort of operate, etc. So comfortable, for security, for you trusting. I mean, trusting the seller, you'd rather go to a Porsche dealership. So the Porsche dealership, I wouldn't expect they have a lot of 997s that come up for sale, usually. They usually would have 991s because 997s, 996s wouldn't come up as much because they tend to go to independents and other sort of smaller specialty dealers. So one came up. So tell the listeners what you found at the Porsche dealership.
Yeah, well, that was a good point. Before I say that, that's a good point. You do, the last point I was going to make about the Porsche dealerships that people don't realize, they are willing to you're willing to negotiate more than maybe other, or about the same as any other dealership, because you're right, they want to push that new model. But they do get these from, former customers that have the cars and they trade them in. So they want to move those cars. But I saw this, it just jumped out at me. I saw this beautiful 997 2008 model, a C2S, and it was in seal gray. I guess there's other names for it, but I call it seal because that's the color I remember in the Le Mans movie with Steve McQueen driving. Yeah. That's that color.
But it is seal gray, isn't it? It's not Atlas gray.
Yeah, it comes. There's another name for it, technical name for it. Yeah, but they have a seal metallic something. I don't know. I don't have the code in front of me, but
yeah, I thought it was seal gray. I know there's Atlas gray and there's seal gray, isn't there?
I think they call it slate too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think they call it slate. Because it does have, if you really look at it, kind of has a brownish tones in it a little bit.
It's a nice color. I just want to go back to the dealer thing actually, because I think what you just touched on was pretty important. It's like if a lot of people are against going to Porsche dealers because you think the prices are marked up and you're going to get ripped off a little bit. Other people prefer it because you get a warranty, and I guess that's people that's buying a 991.2 or a 991. People go to the dealer, but you forget about all these customers that Porsche dealers have that trade in their Porsche that they've had for 7 years or 8 years. They trade it in to get a 991, to get a 992. And in one way, if it's their dealer, they'll know the customer, they'll know the car, they probably service the car, the records are all there. It could make your life a little bit easier. Is that what you found when you bought it from this Porsche dealer, that they had all the records, everything was easy to find?
Yeah, you nailed it. I mean, they had the two owners that had it previously were all customers of theirs. So it was a low mileage, took most of the maintenance to the Porsche dealership. So you're absolutely right. That's a great point. And what you save on what you don't save on the front end, you're going to save eventually. So you might as well get the best example that you can. But yeah, that was part of the comfort that I did. And it sounded crazy, but when I decided, I almost walked away from the deal. So that's another story, but I almost walked away from it because I got cold feet like everybody. It's like, what the heck am I doing? I don't need this type of car in my life right now. But they were very professional, not pushy, and answered all the questions that I needed to make a right decision.
So you find this car at the dealership. It's well optioned. What were the options that it had, Eric?
Well, I was trying to find that this morning, but it full leather. It's beige inside. It has full leather. Okay. It's a 6-speed manual. It has the Porsche head crest on the Porsche seal and the headrest. I'm trying to think what else. It does have, I don't know if it comes tinted, but it does have some tint on the window.
Okay.
It has some of the stone guard stuff on it. There may be some other things I'm missing. Nothing. It doesn't have the Sport Chrono package.
Okay. And so it has no sports exhaust either. No, it doesn't have sports exhaust. I know
No,
that
it does.
one.
It doesn't
I
have
know
it.
that.
No.
I'm going to ask you that question a little bit later on because I remember that.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that. All right. So you found this car. So you're keen on it. So you take it for a test drive, and this is the first time you've actually been behind the wheel of a 911.
Well, actually, no. I mean, so the options had about $20,000 or so in options. So I'm probably missing a lot. My brain's kind of fried from the past week, but no, I made a decision to purchase it, and I did all the financing with Porsche dealership, and they sent the car to me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they sent the car to me, and the funny thing is I didn't time it, but the car arrived actually pulled up at night on 9/11, September 11th.
Oh, really?
Was when I actually got the car. So I thought that was a pretty cool. I got it at 10/11. I wanted to get it 1 hour early, but the guy actually pulled up on September 11th at 10/11. So we missed it by an hour.
So where was the car? Where was the dealer? How far away?
It's pretty far. I mean, it's probably a good 10 to 12 hours away if you're stopping. But it's in New Jersey. I'm in North Carolina.
Okay.
So there's several states up the East Coast.
Yep.
Yeah, and a lot of things I think people do. So it's a climate that they do salt. They have the snow and stuff. So that was one of those things that you only can rely on the dealership, that where it goes back to the dealership. Hey, how's the rust? How's the, the underbody looks, stuff like that. So when the dealer said, hey, we're so confident in this car that we'll make it a CPO, that was it. It was a done deal. So they did this certified pre-owned on a 2008 car, which is, I don't think is very typical of what they do, but I have a year CPO in the car.
So just explain the CPO. What does the CPO give you?
It basically covers you. It's a bumper to bumper certified pre-owned car. So the Porsche, if you have any, from major to even a lot of the minor issues with the car, they'll take it in. And they'll fix it for you.
And what's the period that's for? Sorry, what period?
It's 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. Yeah.
Okay, so that gave you the confidence then to buy it basically, well, not sight unseen, but you couldn't get to the dealer. But when you're buying it though, in the process, even though they're offering you the CPO, what did you get them? Did they do walkarounds with videos for you? Did they send you more images? Or you were quite happy with them guaranteeing it with the CPO and the low mileage, and also it was an old customer of theirs that had traded it?
Again, this is how I made it, but I don't know. I worked out for me, right? So it worked out and everything. I was super happy. It was a lot more than I expected when I saw the car, but yeah, they only a few pictures. And the pictures were bad because even when I went to the Porsche online website, they don't put pictures on their used cars. They just post them up, and these things go really quickly. So I was like, what is this? So they basically took a phone and walked around, took a couple pictures. I don't even know if I have video of that car, and they just shot me the picture. He kind of explained in detail anything. I mean, the car is really in mint condition. So he was like, trust me when I say this, it looks like a brand new car.
Okay.
And had about 35,000 miles on it at the time.
So 35,000 miles is not very much. It's like 70,000 kilometers, something like that. So that's good. So then it gets delivered. So you get your 997.1. It's in seal gray. It's a great looking car. It's got the best wheels on it. It's got the lobster claw wheels on it because it's a Carrera S, my favorite.
Me too.
And it gets delivered to your house. What do you think when you see it come off the truck? And it's night, I guess, so you don't get to appreciate it till the next morning?
Well, no, I was out there for like 3 hours at night. So they're like, so when it came on one of those flatbed enclosed trailers, and the guy was really careful. But I mean, it's hard to describe that feeling. And it's called that transformation of the mind. That realization that the dream was realized. And Porsche is always more beautiful in person. I don't know what it is. The pictures don't do it justice. It's like if you go to a beautiful scenic route and you're like, man, I wish you're going to take some pictures, but the pictures don't do it justice. Same thing. And it was more than I expected. The smell, the feeling of it, everything. And when I put it in the first gear and turned that car on, I probably made it about 10 yards and I conked out because I was going up a little hill on my driveway, which is
Really?
a little embarrassing because the guy that delivered truck is looking at me like, you okay there, buddy? Do you know how to drive this car?
So not
But
not not used to the clutch.
no, I mean, I that's where I learned on. My dad took me on the stick, so I had but it was like one of these cheap Isuzu cars, where you're driving it, that the stick is like 2 feet long, kind of thing. But I never been in a car like this, and this is the first time I saw it. So I was out there for hours. I said, hey, I opened the engine. I'm like, I never looked at an engine for hours. I was
Yeah,
under the
yeah.
car looking at the car.
Really?
I was like, this is beautiful. It was like a dream.
It
Really
is.
was.
You're exactly right, Eric. I mean, it looks so much wider in real life when when you're standing next to the Porsche, and when you have that perspective of standing next to it and it's lower than you, and the stance of it, and then when you go to sit in it, like you said, you sit in it and you're sitting so much lower, your center of gravity, and you're sitting in it, and it's just like, especially when you get the seats to the right spot. And it really does just feel like something else. And I've said this many times before. Every time I go back to Sydney, I'd get in the car after a few months of not driving it. You just can't help but smile. As soon as you start it up, you're driving out. I'm driving out of my garage, and you just can't help but smile because it's just, even with the oil cold, and you still got to warm it up, and you can't really take it out. You just feel so. It really does. It really does give you a great feeling, and I think that's why we keep saying to people, who haven't bought a 911 yet. And common thread through the owner's stories that other people say is don't wait too long. Just get one. Get the one you can afford and enjoy it, because you really will enjoy it. It really is a special car. So you've got it delivered. How was the first proper drive the next day or the day after? What did you do? Did you clean it first? Did you go for a drive? What was the plan?
Man, I remember one of your podcasts saying you clean it and clean it. That's exactly. I think I cleaned it like 20 times. I mean, I was out there for hours. I mean, I think I was stayed out there 8 hours, 10 hours just with the car, just me. And I was like, if I could put the car inside my house, I would, because that's the car was like part of my family. And I think my wife, hey, where's my husband, kind of thing. But yeah, it's just total infatuation with it. I mean, I did take it out and I was scared to death. My palms are sweating. I remember when I was shifting the gears. I mean, was just to feel the rear wheel drive and the weight of it. It was scary. And we have and most of the roads here are B roads, and they happen to be more country farmland stuff. So it's a great place to actually take a car like that.
That's great.
But yeah, I wasn't as confident in the vehicle, but it was just awesome. You could feel. Not that I didn't know it was special, but it's special when you're driving in that car.
Yeah.
You just know it's not your typical car. So
I think when you first get I know flash going back to when I first got the 997, and cleaning it for the first time, and I know some people don't get into this, but it is about the fact that it is a new car to you, and you spend the time and cleaning inside, especially because a lot of people don't take care on the inside, and taking the cleaning, and my wife was helping me as well, and you actually get to know your car. You get to know the shape of it. You get to know if there is any little scratches here and there. It's kind of a bond. I hate to say it, but it is kind of a bonding thing with your car when you first get it. And it does actually make a big difference, I think. Especially cleaning it so it does become yours. You know what I mean? It feels like it becomes yours. Mm-hmm. And it's like when you do a first mod on it, it also then becomes like, well, hey, this is my 911. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Which I think is pretty cool. So you've got the 911. Since you've had let's just stay on the 997 for now, but you've got the 997. It doesn't have a sports exhaust. So I know you do a mod, I know you do an exhaust mod. So tell me about what you've been doing to the car and what you've added to it since you've bought it, Eric.
Well, I haven't done much because my wife used to work for a European dealership, BMW. So she's a little more knowledgeable. She was about cars and the whole process, but she was kind of scaring me. But you don't want to make too many mods because it might, mess up your warranty, kind of thing. So I was like, all right,
that's right.
But I think the exhaust was the biggest thing. And it was weird because there were several people, including you and a couple other people that obviously about, that I started looking at. And I started doing more research on it because, once you find something that sparks your interest, you kind of dive deep into it. So I started looking at the videos, and then I went onto the website and the Fister mod. And I did some research, and I thought it was out of the bunch of what you could do, I thought it was the best modification you could do. It was almost like a no-brainer to me. very affordable, and it's all the way in the West Coast. I'm on the East Coast, but I was like, how can you not do this? So, I mean, I just jumped on it, and I was like, that's the sound is really important, I think, to any vehicle. It had a great sound already, but I think it just gets the most out of your car and the experience. So I wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think the S. I mean, mine being a standard Carrera, I think the S has a better sound in general than the than the base Carrera than mine. I didn't have a problem with mine because when I bought it, I thought it was still quite iconic. Obviously, Steve was telling me it was too soft and an exhaust would make it better, and he was right. I mean, the Fister did make a big difference. You know what I mean? And I like how it still looks. To the untrained eye, if you don't, I've got the satin black one, but if you just got the normal color, it just looks like the normal Porsche exhaust underneath. It doesn't even look like you've got a mod, which I think is a good thing for you because of the CPO and, warranty and all that. Most people wouldn't have any idea. And also the price, I think the price is reasonable. Obviously the price of Fisters, I think, have gone up a little bit in the past few years, but I still think Darren's prices for his mod is really good. And it's a great product. It's especially a good product for the 997, for people with 964s, it's a really good product as well. So I think, and 996s, but I think it's really good. So you had your Fister exhaust sent to you from FD Motorsports, and you fitted it yourself?
Yeah, I did that. It was a little scary. Trust me. My wife was saying, "Are you crazy? You're going to do that to that expensive car?" So it was a little drama there because I just actually got the second one. It didn't go as planned. Just put it that way. Because when you start taking, so like a house and you build a house, you start taking things apart, you always find something else. And the biggest thing was the seized and rusted nuts and the bolts and the exhaust. And nobody really tells you that, but
Yes.
I learned the hard way.
I remember that when they took mine off, that was one of the problems. The bolts and the tips and everything like that, everything was a little bit, I think they had to replace some things. So what was the reason why you wanted to do it? Just primarily to save cost?
Not really. It's just that I was like, if I'm going to have a vehicle like this, how can I not, at least try to learn? And I think with technology and so much good information out there, you can really do the research and kind of do it yourself. So this is one of the things I never was taught. My dad was never a car guy. I think I did an oil change was the most I ever did in a car. So it was one of the things I kind of wanted to do. I didn't have any tools for it. So I probably spent more money on the tools, just getting the tools than if I would have just taken it and gotten the exhaust. But I'm telling you, it does. I mean, if you do that and you learn just even an oil change, it's such a big accomplishment. I was taking pictures of the oil, when I did the oil change on the other car. But I think it's you kind of learn about that and you realize that it's really not difficult.
Okay.
It takes time. You might need some tools, but it's there. It's on.
You've done it. Yeah, no. And I was just going to say, for the listeners while we're talking about this, go to Eric's Instagram. It's Elrey, ELREY P997. I'll put it in the link to this podcast as well. But if you're listening now and you want to go and see it, have a look because Eric's got pictures on there, images of there with the exhaust off, with the Fisters fitted, and his cars as well. So you can actually check out his cars as well and give him a follow when you go and have a look. So how many hours did it take you to do the exhaust, Eric?
You probably don't want to know. I mean, it's hard to say because when I took it out, I had to cut through the exhaust. So there's the exhaust hangers that hold your muffler up. It's not really that complicated, but it's very hard to get to the way the car is designed because everything's so tight in there. So my hands, I had a hard time just getting my hands in and the tools and the angles and all that. And it's scary to lift the car up because you're under the car and the car. You have all those issues, but it took many, many hours just because I had to order those parts. And I think one exhaust hanger came from UK, the other one came from Germany. I mean, then I had to get all new nuts and all those bolts, and they're not easy to find. There's several places that we all probably know that you have to go and do the research on it. So I finally just got the other exhaust hanger that I was missing. So that's why I put it up. But if everything went well, it's probably a good, you probably could do everything in a day if you don't have to see. Right. You're always going to have issues though, but it's a day project.
So you got it off Darren Fister, FD Motorsports. Did you have to reach out to Darren and ask him for some help? Did you have to reach back out to him and say, I'm stuck here, I need some help, or everything was okay?
Well, all that I thought about, like everybody else. You think about, why did I do this? I'm going to have to tow this car. I can't drive this car. I messed it up. I messed this beautiful car up. My bumper's off. Looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
I can't
call
do that,
anybody.
Eric. I can't do that. I can't see the car in pieces. I have to be away when it's in pieces. I can't see it. I just prefer to see
Yeah.
it all back together.
Well, you'd be surprised, because if you're very meticulous in detail, like most Porsche owners, you'll be surprised once you start doing it, that you'll do it better than most people. Just because of the care that you do. There's things that you'll see that you'll try to fix and correct. But it was definitely an experience.
You're right. It's not easy to do these jobs, and I guess it is. It's rewarding. That's why I really do think what Amir, who was in a previous owner's stories, I don't know whether you listen to that, Amir, who's got the two cabriolets, the 993 and the 997, and he does all his own maintenance, all of his own maintenance, and how he plans it out. He'll plan everything out first, so he knows, exactly how to do it, and he'll just spend the weekend in the garage doing it if it has to happen. It's a lot of work. I don't think I could do that. I mean, I think things like exhaust, like you said, not little things, but things like that, oil changes. And it does, bring you closer to the car. So you've got the 997. You're not going to do much more to it mod-wise because you're worried about the warranty, which is fair enough. You've done the exhaust. Everything else is pretty much perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I put the side stripes on it, the Porsche side stripes, and I did do carbon fiber covers, just little covers that you just put on and on the windows for little time. Nobody would notice that, but it's something that I noticed. The car is perfect. It has little things here and there that, like I said, the upgrades. I'm just thinking about the sill trim. I noticed when I open the door of the car, you can see that aluminum light trim that it has, and it's something I probably would never have gotten, but it's so cool. So if I ever get another one, I want the little aluminum trim on the side. But yeah, it's I even if without the
your side sills inside the door sills are the aluminum with the Carrera S written on them, are they?
Correct.
Yeah, they're nice. That's what I'm going to get that. I'm going to do mine in that with the my Carrera. Mine has just got the black plastic with the silver, but I'm going. When I go back to Sydney, I'm actually going to do those. A friend of mine, Nick, in the UK, who's on the first owner's stories, he did it with his 997 4S. And it looks fantastic. I mean, obviously, it looks better on darker cars, but I kind of like how the silver on silver will look. I've seen a couple of images online, and I think that's a great option. And your stripe looks good. You went with the all black Porsche stripe, which looks great. Obviously, your car.
And I did that by myself too. That's
a
little harder job, because you have to get all the bubbles out. It's very meticulous, and I think I probably spent 2 or 3 hours on each side.
Yeah, you're a better man than me. I paid someone to do mine. I didn't do mine.
Yeah.
Did you?
You're smarter.
Did you the wheel arch guards, the clear wheel arch guards that's just before the rear wheels? Did you replace those at the same time, or they were okay? They
The
weren't
side
yellowed?
marker lights, I replaced those as well. Yeah, I did that. Yep. The side markers. Yeah. Are you talking about the orange lights?
No,
yeah,
I noticed that you've done that as well. No, I mean the protective film that's just around the wheel arch of the rear wheel.
That was on the car.
So it was all right. It wasn't discolored, because a lot of the times mine was yellow when I bought my car, so I changed it over when I did the stripe. But yours was okay?
No, it wasn't. And maybe the dealership did that. I don't know. I mean, they put new Pirelli tires on it and stuff, and did some other things to it. So maybe they did that. Yeah.
Fantastic. And you got the full leather interior. I can see that. It's obviously with your full leather tan interior. Looks great. So you've got the 997. You bought it. What month was it again? In September, right?
September. Yeah.
September last year. So you've been driving it. So what happens then? Then you decide, well, one's not enough. One Porsche's not enough. So what happens, Eric?
Of course. Well, like everybody, I will highly recommend that. I mean, just like there's a Porsche for every season, everybody should have about 3 or 4 Porsches, telling you, because really, it doesn't, just because they're all so different. And that's the genius of Porsche, is that they can make something that's so similar but yet so different and so fascinating, that it's really just, I can't say enough about the brand. But I did started looking into getting another car, even though we have like 5 cars now. And again, remember, not rational decision if I
Yes.
wasn't thinking straight, but I got on this thing like, hey, life is short. Why not do it? And I just started doing some research like I did and really get into the brand. Because when you look at like, if you like your favorite music, and like I like blues, right? So you don't really start with the beginning. You start toward who the artist is now. So Eric Clapton is one of my favorite artists, guitar player. I play guitar. You kind
Right.
of find out what his influence was. He was influenced by Buddy Guy and BB King, and then who
Okay.
were they influenced by? So you go back to Robert Johnson. So same thing with Porsche. And I started going back, and I said, "Hey, these are beautiful Boxster 911." You start going back, and I realized that there was the Boxsters are. I feel like they're really severely undervalued for
Yes.
what they provide.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did
No,
start.
I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. I was only just saying that in a podcast. Well, this is we're doing this now, but this is going to be played in a few weeks' time. But in the podcast that I just did this week with Steve, I was just talking about the Boxsters. To me, I think they're going to become very, very collectible. You can't overrule the fact that it is 25 years old, that it is their 25th anniversary. I've seen people buying up the more special versions of them. When that starts to happen, when people are looking at the collectors are looking at the Spiders, the 981 Spiders or the 987 Spider or the RS60 edition or the earlier anniversary edition that they did. When people start looking at those, it's going to filter down and something is changing. And I think you're exactly right, Eric. I think that the Boxster is going to be, the prices are going to jump. They're going to jump and they're going to jump very quickly and people won't be ready for it. So you've had the 997. I think how you explained it to music is a really good explanation, actually. So then, how do you find the Boxster? Where does it appear?
Well, it's funny. I did the same kind of process. You look at everywhere. You call people up, and you get the same. I guess we always do this. We make the same mistake sometimes, but I did again get a little frustrated. I just wanted to know what was out there about the car. And a lot of the people that are selling these cars, especially from non-Porsche dealerships, just don't know about the car. They don't know about the history and the beauty of the brand. So I started looking on Porsche website, the USA, the used cars, and they put a lot of their cars on there from the dealerships.
Okay.
And there were several Boxsters that I liked. Some were a little bit earlier, more expensive, and then they had, but what the funny thing, it was the Boxster that I saw, and I was like, this is a good price. Good, it looks like it's beautifully well taken care of. It was the same Porsche dealership that I bought my 997.
Oh, really?
And
Wow.
I did not. When I clicked on it, I was like, wait a minute. It went back to where the same place where I bought my Porsche, which is very strange.
So were you looking for a particular generation of the Boxster? Were you looking for a Boxster, a standard Boxster, Boxster base? Or were you looking for a Boxster S? Or were you looking for what were you looking for?
Well, the new ones are beautiful cars, and I think they're for what you get. They're really, I mean, I would recommend that to anybody. But with where my budget was, and again, this is more of a want and a need kind of thing. I felt like the undervalue of the 986 was where I wanted to be. Again, knowing that the IMS and all that, I mean, life's too short. Like I said, I really didn't really think about it. I did my research on it, but I'm willing to take a risk because everything we do is kind of risk anyways. And yeah, I did settle on the 986S. I wanted the S, and although that wasn't a requirement, I like the S, which I just heard something. S is not sport. I always thought it was sport. I mean, I guess it means super, but I go figure. But the manual was a really big deal for me, and the reason the Boxster is so important, I think, is such a different, but yet it has that precise handling like a 911, but it has that mid-engine feel to it. And everybody says that the handling on it is just superb, and I have to agree.
Okay,
And,
I want to ask you about that, actually. I want to ask you about the comparison. But before we get into that, you found this Boxster. It's a Boxster S. Tell the listeners exactly what year and the options and et cetera that it had on the car that you found at the Porsche dealer.
Yeah, it's a 2002 S and 986S. And it's not the color I wanted, but that they had was steel. It's a light steel, not steel, Arctic metallic, like an Arctic gray, silver. Yeah, that's what they say.
That's not Arctic silver. That's not Arctic silver, is it?
It's not. Yeah.
No,
What would you
my
say?
car's Arctic silver. My car's Arctic Silver. It looks gray in
Yeah,
the
that's
pictures.
yeah. It's lighter. The pictures it looks darker. It's lighter than what it looks. Like if you compare that to my 997, it's a lot lighter. But I was trying to get away from this silver gray. I actually wanted like a yellow, more of a poppy color.
Okay.
But hey, it checked the box. I mean, they had brand new tires on it, and it was in great condition. Again, I think it had 32,000 miles on it.
So is this the model, you said it was a 2002, so did you get the glass rear window, or has it still got the plastic rear window
You
on the
know
top?
what? I think they put a new top on it because they have a newer convertible. I don't have the glass on there. So they have it's the soft top on there, but it's not glass.
Okay. No, I think they came out late 2002, the glass rear window.
Oh yeah, okay.
I think it was
well,
2000.
this might have come out before.
Yeah, I think it was 2003 model and upwards, but it looks quite clean because usually that's where you see the wear, isn't it, on that plastic rear window. So did the Boxster had many options or not really?
Well, it didn't have the original exhaust. It had an aftermarket like eBay exhaust, which actually sounds pretty good except for the drone, but it doesn't bother me. It sounds really good though. And some of the options, it has the what do you call it, the CarPlay type thing where you can hook up the Bluetooth. So I thought that was actually a really good feature on it. Other than that, it really doesn't have much more. I mean, I did a ton of stuff to it, but it's pretty stock.
Are they the standard seats? Those seats, they look like they've quite a lot of lumbar support on the sides. They're the standard sports
I
seats?
think they are. They are, Michael. I'm not 100% positive, but I think they are. Yeah.
So you've got the black interior. It looks more grey than me than silver, but I could be wrong, but it looks more grey. It's got the black interior, which works well. It's got the
Black,
6-speed, which is fantastic. You've got the white dials, the classic Boxster S white dials. What have you added to that? Is there much you needed to add to it, or you've just left it pretty much stock?
No, this is my mod car. So that's what I always said, that I'm more comfortable doing this. And this is where I got more confidence, because as soon as I got the Boxster, I just went to town on the car, opening everything up. But I put new taillights on it. I put new Porsche emblems. I took the old one out, which was kind of breaking up, and I put black ones on there. I bought some Floyd carpets, excellent carpets, by the way.
They're great. Yeah, they're great.
Yeah, great material. And then changed all the air filters with high performance. I did wheel spacers on them. I did get some carbon covers for the side mirrors, front grills from Sunsport. Quality, those are quality. And then I did some maintenance stuff on it. Well, several things on it. Yeah, put the front and rear strut bars as well, which I don't even know what they actually do, but it seems like it feels better when I'm going faster.
So you did that yourself, Eric? You actually changed them yourself?
I did everything myself. Yeah.
All right. So you're using this as this is your fun car, because it doesn't have this one doesn't have the CPO, right? This one's just bought from the dealer.
No.
And you got it at a reasonably good price. You've had the bumper off on this one. I can see the front bumper's been off, and I can see the radiators.
Yeah, I got this 20% marked down on it, and very similar, just pictures that I saw, and little dings here and there. But it was a very clean car. I think it had like 2 previous owners on it. But I have a lot more things that I want to do with the car that I already purchased. I just haven't done on the car, and they're just sitting in the room.
Let's go through that. But before that, so how had it had any work done by the dealer? Like you said, you weren't worried about the IMS. Life's too short, and a lot of people, I know there's other people who don't sort of fuss about that too much. But had it had any work on the clutch? Had any major things been done? The brakes been changed? I mean, how is the wear of those? Did you manage to find out, or are you still trying to find out?
No, I mean, I guess the dealership did do an inspection on it. I don't even know if you call it a PPI or whatever, but everything was in really good condition. The brake pads, everything was fairly new. So I think that stuff was changed out. And the dealership also put new tires, Michelin Sport tires on it, brand new that they did. But other than that, no, I don't think anything. The clutch is still original to the car, and it works perfectly. I mean, I might change it to a short shifter pretty soon, but it works. Everything in the car works perfect.
Don't do that yourself, though. Get someone to do the short shifter. You're not going to
fit so? I'm actually thinking about getting that, doing it myself. Yeah.
I gave that short shifter a really hard time, and I think the one that goes in the Boxster, if you get the Porsche one, I think it's the same as the 997 one. The 997 short shifter kit that I got, that I actually bought from, I actually didn't buy it from Suncoast. I bought it in the UK. It was a little bit cheaper. And then Autohouse Hamilton in Sydney fitted it. It took a few hours to fit it. And I was really hard on it at first. And you probably heard me talk about this because of having been in Steve's GT3 with his numeric shifter and being so much more mechanical and just feeling better. You know what I mean? But, I think I've come around to the fact, and I haven't driven the car, very often recently, obviously, but I think the 997 short shifter kit is a good one. You know what I mean? If you don't want to go too hardcore, it's short enough, it's tight enough. It does feel more mechanical. Of course, it's very far removed from the numeric. I mean, if you want the Boxster to be, a track car and more sportier, I would say look at the numeric because it does give a completely different feel. It is a clickier shift and a very shorter throw. And you can adjust the throw on those as well. I think you can have, the throw shorter if you want. But, for a everyday sort of car that you just want to drive and enjoy, I think the Porsche OEM part is probably still the one to go. It's still the one I would go for on a 997. If I had a GT3, I would probably do the numeric. You know what I mean? I would probably do that if it was going to be more sort of spirited. But yeah, but it looks good. The Boxster looks good. So this dealer must really like you then, because you bought one car and then how long after did you buy the Boxster? Almost exactly the same time, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's about a month and a half later. Yeah. Crazy, isn't it? Yeah. But so I'm telling you, he does like me, and I might actually go back there for another one, but maybe it'll be a new one next time.
Does he ever get air cooled in or not? Not really.
I don't think so. I think they're very rare. I mean, they do a pretty good job of posting them on those, those big car websites when they do. I think Porsche does it, but you really don't see them. By the time they get there, they probably get bought. They don't even have time to put them on there because the customer base, they're repeat customers. Once you, it's like any car company, right? They're going to keep you, but the Porsche really does it because they know their customers. And they usually keep them for a long time. The only disadvantage that I have is I'm so far away. Yeah. So the local one here is about 2.5 hours, and they're pretty good as well. So you said maybe one day I'll get a new one, and I just can buy a new one and tell them what I want.
Well, you've got that relationship now, haven't you? If the person's still working there and the same people are working there, which a lot of these dealers, I know people do stay there for a long time. So you've got that relationship. You've started to build that relationship, which is fantastic. And I guess if you need to know anything about parts or anything, you can always give them a call as well. Mm-hmm. So you said that you have a lot of other things that you've purchased already, Eric, that you want to fit onto the Boxster. What are you planning? Tell the listeners what you've got in store to make the Boxster a little bit more special.
Well, there's a guy named Joe Toth. He does a rear spoiler on there. So I already bought it. It's not no installations. It's double-sided tape. You just put it on. It gives a little pop on the back of it. Rear diffuser that I want to put on, against more aesthetic on the back, but I have to get that painted as well, installed. Engine mount. Okay. Probably don't need it. Yep. Maybe hear a little bit of creaking, but I'm going to put an engine mount. And then I plan to do the thermostat, flywheel, and serpentine belt just for preventative maintenance. For performance, I would like to do the IDP Plenum upgrade. Yes. Not a huge difference, but from everything I see, it does make a little bit of difference. And why not? I mean, I think it'll be a good thing.
The IPD Plenum's a weird thing, though. A lot of people say it does make a lot of difference, and then some people say it doesn't. I'm still not sure if it does or it doesn't. You know what I mean? I used to have a lot of people sending me messages through YouTube, from the channel saying, you should do this, you should do the IPD, you should do it. It's going to make a big difference, But then you read on the forums and people say, well, it doesn't really make that much difference. So I'm still unsure about that one. I'm not too sure. I think the engine mounts is a good one, but I think, Eric, if you're going to do the engine mounts, wouldn't you do the short shifter at the same time? Because that would really tighten up everything. Yeah, that would tighten up everything. Yeah.
Yeah, I like to do some shocks and lower the car. Some springs. So I'm looking at KW or one of them. I like to do that on the 997 as well. Just I know the people are like, oh, you're going to lower it down just an inch, but it does give it a better stance, and people say it drives better as well. So I want to do that to both of the cars, actually. Probably because there's new technology now, just like the tires. It is going to improve the drive. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm willing to look at that. Yeah. So I mean, I think the Boxster is unlimited, and honestly, when you put that top down, Michael, that's why I think you probably should get one. There's no feeling like it. There's no feeling like it. My kids love it. My wife loves it. I mean, it's just having a top down on a Porsche, and it's a small vehicle, and it's a zippy little car. It's just a great feeling. And I don't know if I want to will ever sell any of those cars because it serves another purpose and it's more my daily driver. And if something happened and I ran into a animal or something like that, I wouldn't feel as bad in the box.
I think you've done well though. You've got a good, you've got a good mix there. You've got the 997, which you have to be a little bit more sensible with because of the warranty, and that's kind of like not the special one, but that's the 997. That's the 911, and then you've got the Boxster, which you can have some fun with, which you are. You know what I mean? And you're trying out all these parts, and you might even eventually, when your warranty runs out on your 911, you might start thinking about parts for that, right? So it's almost like a testing ground in a way, isn't it? It's almost like seeing how much you can do yourself, and then thinking, well, I can do it on the 911. Yeah, exactly. So when you brought this car home, you obviously have a big garage and you have enough room to park it and everything. So is there room for another 911 in your garage?
Well, we need to build a new garage. And actually, that's part of buy some land here, plenty of land, and build some more garage and get a lift and everything. Because even if you're not a car guy, just having a lift and cleaning under your car and keeping it clean, it's a good perspective. So highly recommend anybody to do that. I just got to budget and get my priorities straight before I do that, because the garage I have right now is more of a workshop I have. And then our house is lifted on pylons. So we could park 6 cars in there. Oh, okay. So, I had to put cover. So the cars are not really protected. And they're not in the sun, and they don't hit the rain and stuff, but I want to eventually close the bottom of my house up and actually build another garage.
Okay, so you're just using car covers on them at the moment,
mostly. But in North Carolina and in the Carolinas, the temperature doesn't sway too much. I mean, we've been having some cold temperature, but we don't get really snow. Okay, pretty mild. So you don't have to put snow tires and stuff. I mean, you really can ride your cars throughout the year with no problem.
So here's a question for you, because a lot of listeners and a lot of people that listen to the podcast, a lot have 911s already, but a lot of people are looking to buy a Porsche, and they listen to this podcast because they want some, not justification, I guess, just some help in which direction to go. And of course, the first choice at the moment, of course, is a 996 due to the prices. 997, a little bit more expensive, but the Boxster is also on people's lists, as their first Porsche. What do you think of the driving experience between the 911 and the Boxster? Do you think and I know you touched on it just before, do you think they're comparable? Do you think what is the main thing that you noticed when you stepped out of one and went into the other?
Well, I think the 911 is always going to be my first love, but the Boxster is not far behind, honestly. I mean, it is a different feel to it, especially going around the curves. You probably feel a little more confident in the Boxster, maybe because it's a mid-engine car. But it's almost, it still has that, like I was saying, that precise handling and feel of a Porsche brand. And that's why I think I recommend it for a lot of Porsche owners, because you have a convertible that is very affordable and it's cheaper than the Hondas and Toyotas that are dime a dozen out there.
Yeah, true.
So it may be one of those things that people just budget for and get one, and you'll feel more confident in tracking this car and modifying this car. And one day it may be a classic. You may make money or it may not, but I think it's about the fun factor with the Boxster, and it does have some history to it, right? I mean, there is a history and there is some prestige in the brand of the Boxster brand. But I would recommend people get what they can afford, whether it be get as much as you can afford so you don't regret it. If you don't like the car, you can sell it and stuff, but whatever your limit is, and really, I always say to people, it's almost like you can't afford not to buy one, because that's how life is, and you don't want to be in your life and have regrets and say, I wish I would have bought a Porsche and had that feeling.
Yeah, true.
But I think that's what it represents, Michael, for me. It's not just the product. It's not material things. It's the feeling, is that transformation of your mind. The way you perceive life, I agree. And what you want to get out of life. That's what Porsche is about, and that's why we're all hooked in talking about it.
Yeah, no,
it's
I agree.
More than just a car. Now Ferrari may have that name, but the Porsche has the name, but they also have that experience, and there's nothing like it. You can see a Porsche and it's a Porsche, but when you're in a Porsche, it's a Porsche, and I think it's just one of those things that it becomes. I think you said it is a lifestyle, it's a community, but I think that's why we're so gung-ho about it, because we're like, hey guys, you got to jump on the Porsche bandwagon here.
Yeah.
This is that good. And some of my friends think I'm crazy. Like, how can you buy a car like that? You're going to have all kinds of problems. It's expensive, the naysayers.
Well, people think they're expensive to look after, and they're really not that expensive. Once you get into it and you buy the car and you've got the car, it's not that expensive, really. You know what I mean? Yeah, if you go to dealers and you get a lot of services done and all the work done at dealers, it's going to cost you a bit more. But like you said, you can do it yourself on the older models. I mean, obviously 991s and 991.2s and 992s are probably harder to do work on. But you can do the work yourself, and you can enjoy that side of it as well if you want to. But I think the Boxster is, I really do think it's underrated, like you said. And I think that, I look back at an owner's story that was done, the owner's story, which, like I said, these owner stories we record in advance, but the owner's story that had Stephen from Sydney, Australia with his Boxster, red Boxster. Now that episode, sometimes when I get people coming on the owner's stories, they think because they've got a Boxster or because they've got, a modern 911, it's not going to be as interesting because everyone wants to know about air-cooleds or everyone wants to know about, something like a bit more special. It's not true, because honestly, that Boxster episode has actually had more downloads than some of the other episodes with air-cooleds in them. So it just shows you that there's a lot of people out there who are really interested in the Boxster because it is a good-looking car, and it's not the second cousin to the 911. It's on this, it's a different level, it's a different thing, but it's still Porsche and it's still, a great car to own and to drive. And I have to admit, as a combination, like I was saying before, you having the 997.1 and a Boxster, I think it's a great combination. And it's a combination that I've thought about. I have thought about it because, even in Australia, a Boxster like that is still reasonably, probably not as cheap as the US, but reasonably inexpensive, where you can get one between 30 and 40,000 Australian dollars for a low mileage, '03 model with the glass back window Carrera Boxster S. So for that side of it, it is very cheap. When you think about that, I'm looking at 912s that now, 912s, I've completely missed the boat, going up to 60, 70,000 US dollars. You know what I mean? 60,000 and 70,000 US dollars now. So that's, it's something you can't overlook, because if you want a different experience, like you said, you can get into it, and you can get into it at a low price, and you can be enjoying it now. And that's what it's all about. So tell me, we're getting. I think we're probably getting close to the hour, Eric. But tell me about where you live in North Carolina, right? North Carolina. Right. Tell me about the roads around there. Are the roads really bad? Like you said, some of the roads aren't so great. Are there some good driving roads in your region, or?
Well, I mean, we're not too far away from the west. If Virginia and North Carolina have beautiful drives and the mountain drives around here. So there's a lot of rural back roads, but also the highway. And I think when you drive these type of cars, it's good at the Porsche. A lot of people understand the durability of these cars. They're made, the safari runs on Le Mans, and they have this, you can take this car anywhere, right? So yeah, I think it's good to take this thing on long road trips. And I plan to do that from the beach to the mountains everywhere. But there's a lot of nice roadways here. And Highway 81 in Virginia that goes to Virginia to DC, and then you have 55 is West Virginia, where there's this beautiful mountains, and there's some really, really nice places, probably away from the city, that you can really take the car and take it in, all different types of climates and environments. But that's the advantage of these cars. I mean, they're so versatile. And you can really depend that they're going to get you home when you take it out. You don't have to worry that they're going to break down.
Yeah, true.
I mean, obviously, these cars are getting a little older, but I think if you know your car and you do the maintenance on it, there are going to be very few surprises on the car. They're just built so well. So I think there's a lot of people need to know that these vehicles they're on the road, right? I mean, I think I saw a statistic. There's 75-80% of these cars are still on the road.
People say the 986 Boxster. I mean, Steve made the point the other day to me that the 986 Boxster is a bit unreliable. It's a bit like chocolate, and I said, not really. It's not that bad. You know what I mean? And there's still so many of them on the road. They're still driving. So unless people have put in, thousands of dollars to fix them, they're still on the road. So they can't be that bad. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a few bad ones here and there.
I had Hondas and Toyotas. I'm telling you, I felt like that thing was always in the shop.
Yeah.
And they're made, if you look at some of these cars, the plastics and stuff are so cheap, they break off and stuff. So you think about it, it's almost like if you look at the whole ownership experience of these cars, you're almost paying the same probably, and more headache and more time just dealing with these little things that kind of break off. So people talk about the dependability of other vehicles, and I don't really see it that way.
And you've got a better driving experience. So here's the question, Eric. You wake up in the morning, it's a beautiful sunny day. You walk outside, you go down to underneath your house, and your cars are there. Which one do you take out first?
God, see, that's a tough question. You know what? I probably right now, since the 911's been sitting there, and by the way, I have to take it to the shop. I'm going to take it to the Porsche dealership. They're going to pick it up because I had so much fun revving with the Fister. It snapped my belt.
Oh, really?
I didn't warm it up. Yeah, actually, the belt. What happened was one of the idle pulleys where you put your belt on, the idle pulleys. Inside there's like a bearing thing and just broke. It's a plastic thing and it breaks sometimes. And they said that you had to inspect it. So when that broke, it pulled the belt and it snapped the belt.
Oh, okay.
And it's something that it's very easy to fix, by the way. But I called them and I was like, just call them. And I called them and they said, yeah, we'll get it over and fix it for you. It's like a $30 belt, and I think the idle tensioner is about $70 or $100.
So that has to go to the local Porsche shop, or
yeah,
so
they're going to come
away.
pick it up. Yeah, so there again, I haven't driven it with the Fister yet.
Okay.
So, I think it's cursed, but so right now, what I'm saying is that it's been sitting for a couple months. So I'm just anxious to get back into it, right? But because that's the car, but mostly sunny days, man. Put that top down and you take the Boxster.
On a sunny day,
9 times out of 10. Yeah. I mean, most of the time you can even take in the cold, you can have the top down going, I went 130 miles per hour. My wife's not hearing me, but over 130 miles, and it was scary, but you don't even know the car doesn't shake.
Yeah.
You can still talk to people on the phone with the top down. And I mean, with the Bluetooth, it's a beautiful car. I mean, I really can't say much of it. I'm just really surprised how much I really like that car. So,
and I don't want you to divulge prices or anything, but the cost of the Boxster to the 911, is it half the price, third of the price?
I would say it's probably like a third
of the price. So it's a great experience for the money, isn't it? So for anyone out there who's wanting a Porsche and is holding off,
can't beat it.
the Boxster is a good first entry. And then if you can afford a 911, keep the Boxster as well. Like you've got two, keep the Boxster and get a 911 or a 996 or a 997 or a 991.1, and you've got a great start of a Porsche collection.
What you do is sell your other cars and just get the Boxster. I mean, because for the price of these two cars, if you do it right, you do your homework, it's cheaper than what people are paying for trucks around my area for a brand new truck.
Yep.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's like crazy. So it's a great time to get in. Remember, there wasn't too long ago when these air-cooled Porsches were cheap, relatively cheap, super cheap. And now you can't touch them. So
is that next? Is that next, Eric? Are you looking at air cooleds? Would you consider getting an air cooled, or you would still rather get into maybe a 991 or a 992 after these?
Well, I need to win the lottery so I can buy like 3 or 4 more, because I do like the new ones, because you have to like the new ones because the technology, the brand it's just, there's a lot of good things about the new stuff, but I also like the old stuff as well, right? How can you like so I think everybody, anytime there's new generation, because we're so territorial of our own cars, we're like, that's not as good as our 997s or whatever. But if you look at it, they're actually better cars, right? But there's just something special about the older air cooled. So I would definitely, 930s, the 930 or the 964. And there's certain years that I like more than others. It's probably more on top of my list, but then a close second, and it sometimes it's number one is the GT3. Yeah. And I actually like the new ones. I mean, they're so fast, and the more you get into the brand, you're like, what is the pinnacle? Like, what is the pinnacle? If you're a really Porsche person, you think about performance. So what's the top performance right now? Yeah. Well, on the streets, GT3s, the new ones. Yeah. So I mean, a perfect 3-car collection. You have a GT3, you have a air cooled, and you have, something in between, whatever it may be. I mean, that's really, right. I mean, I hate to say it, you really do need 3, because it kind of is around. It is though, isn't it? It's a good balance when you think about it. Yeah, we went from 2 to 3, might be 4.
But just not next month. Just give it a little bit of time before you get the next one.
There you go. There you go. Right. Hey, when I get the next big bonus, man, I'm seriously gonna think about it. It'll be very tempting. Pay a loan off or just buy another Porsche. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. All right, Eric. Fantastic. Thanks for Anything else before we go? Actually, anything else you want to tell the listeners before we go?
No, no. I was going to ask you though. I had a question for you. Well, the only thing I would say is like, hey, don't always think about this. Do what's in your heart and just go for it because life is short, like I always said. And I think everything with the COVID and we all know somebody that it affected and people pass and it's just a sad situation, but just do it because if you don't, then you're going to regret it. And I think this is what it represents. So just go for it. I did have a question for you though. What is
well said, by the way?
You said that thank you. You said that you were going to do some mods and you were talking about the aluminum strip. What other things are you thinking about doing on your 997?
Okay, so I've got all the leather parts that I got from the craftsman, the artisan in UK. I've got most of those parts. I'm still waiting on one part to come. So they're all been sent to Australia. So they're all the leather parts because my car doesn't have a full leather interior. I don't know if you know about that. So I have the inner door sills in leather. I have the I can't even remember half the things I've got now. Quite a few parts anyway.
How about the top? Is it Alcantara or
Alcantara? Yeah, my roof is Alcantara.
Okay,
it's grey Alcantara. My roof.
I have a sunroof.
And it's a sunroof, but it's got grey Alcantara. So I think that was an option at the time. My car doesn't have many options. It's got the extended phone package, which is irrelevant now. It's got Bose, it's got that. But I'm going to get the stainless steel sills, the Porsche OEM stainless steel sills. So I'm going to buy those from Design 911 in the UK because I can get them sent to the UK and I'll take them back to Australia with me. It's a bit cheaper than getting them from Suncoast or somewhere else, Pelican Parts or wherever. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to, and I know that people are going to hate me for this when I say it and I haven't really announced it, I'm going to take the stripe off my car temporarily. I'm going to see if I like it better without the stripe. My wife doesn't want me to take the stripe off, and she thinks it looks fantastic, but I think I'm just going to take it off for a little while. I'm going to get the suspension done, like you mentioned. I don't know. I was pretty set on the Bilstein, whatever that kit was, Pro kit, whatever it's called. I can't remember what it's called now, the Bilstein suspension, not coilovers. I was going to get that. I'm a little bit confused now because I'm thinking, should I get KW or should I get Ohlins or whatever, I'm not sure. I know a lot of people in 997 forums, they get the Bilstein or they get the K&W.
Right.
So
KWs.
Yeah, KWs are more expensive though. That's the only problem. They are more expensive in Australia. So I want to do that. The front of my car was damaged in the garage where I park it at. Someone backed into my car, so they put a bit of a ding in the front of it, into the bumper. So the bumper has to be fixed. I mean, hopefully it's only a cheap fix, but I don't think it will be. So that'll be fixed. So when that's fixed, I'm going to get the whole front end covered in PPF. My bumper's already got PPF on it from the original owner, from the previous owner, but I'm going to get the front end covered in PPF.
Have you thought about getting a new bumper? Just getting a new bumper, like a GT3 style bumper, or just instead of repairing it?
Yeah, no, because my front is too low as it is.
Oh, okay.
See, because my suspension, I'm on lowering springs. My car's actually on lowering springs. It's with stock suspension, but lowering springs. So it is a little bit lower, which is the reason why I want to change to Bilstein or KW or whatever, just to give it, I just want to raise it up just a little bit, just fractionally higher than what it is now. Not a lot, just fractionally, because every time I go out of my car park, my garage, it scrapes. It's very hard to get out without it scraping. So to put a different front on it, Eric, would mean if it was a different sport front, it'd just scrape even more. So it'd be too difficult. And especially when we're on spirited drives, when I was with Steve and that, and we go on those national parks, you do hit, you do bottom out a little bit. So you don't want it too low because it could actually damage more. That's about it, I think. I'm going to also try and work out what to do with the PCM unit. I don't really want to change it over to an aftermarket. I would prefer just to put a Bluetooth module in there. I was hoping Porsche would bring out the classic one like they've done for the 996 for the 997 now, so I could just change it to that. So I do want to do something with that as well. And I think that's about it.
Oh, how did your wheels?
The engine mounts as well. The engine mounts. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to get Autohouse Hamilton to check the engine mounts, and I'm going to change. I might change them as well. That's about it. Did
you how about the wheel spacers? Have you put wheel spacers? Does your cars have wheels?
No, mine doesn't actually. I mean, I had, I thought about it when I got the wheels done, and I, because my wheels I actually got done in the UK, and then I took them back to Australia. I actually bought those wheels in the UK, and they were restored refurbished in the UK by a really good guy in the UK called Chris at XL Wheels. And at the time, I then had to buy new bolts, and I bought the black bolts from Suncoast, so it had the black bolts. And I had to make the decision whether I wanted spacers or no spacers. I think I spoke to him at the time as well, and I spoke to him at the time about the size of the rear wheel as well, the tire on the back, how some people go 305, I think, and mine's 295, I think, which is what's recommended. He thought his opinion, and I trusted his opinion because he does lots of wheels and changes tires over, and he said that stick with the 295s and probably don't get the spacers. I know a lot of people like the spacers. I think it looks okay without it. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that you'll notice. Yeah. I put some on mine, and I think it does change the stance a little bit, but now I noticed that I need to lower the car a little bit more as well.
Yeah. But you don't have PASM?
I do.
Your car doesn't have PASM? It's not slightly lowered anyway, the S?
No, I don't. No, I don't think so. No. Wait, well, I'll get confused. Is it PASM or PSM? Those two confuse me. I guess it does have some.
I thought the S was a little bit lower. Maybe it was an option. I thought it was 10, 15 mil lower.
I don't know. It may be. Yeah, it may be naturally, but it still has a gap. I probably can close it down just a hair.
Yeah.
But that's just me. That's just us, right? I mean, nobody would notice, and I don't know if it'll affect the drive at all. But it's just something that I'm thinking about doing. The question I had,
yes.
Your wheels, did it come like? Did you buy them like? How did you get the wheels with the black and the silver? Because I might think about getting some black wheels.
Okay, the wheels. My wheels were. Okay, so I was on the hunt for a pair of lobster claw wheels, right? Because my car came with 20-inch Tech Art wheels. And to the listeners who've heard this story before, I know they're going to get bored, but I'll just tell it quickly. So my car came with the 20-inch Tech Art wheels. I didn't hate them, but I didn't really like them. But they didn't have the original wheels on my car. So because I spent a lot of time in London, I was looking online in Australia, and then I came across a guy who was doing wheels for a lot of Porsche people in the UK. And his name is Chris, and he's at XL Wheels in the UK. And if you're in the UK and you need any wheels done, he's a great guy. And he also ships to, he was shipping at the time to Hong Kong and other countries around the world as well. And I contacted him, and he had a pair of lobster claw wheels, which were immaculate. He sent me photos. They didn't need refurbishing. They were perfect. I could have just bought them, and I could have just had them plain. But I had this idea for that Singer type style because I already had the idea of having the stripe on the car, and I wanted that sort of thing. So that color of my wheel is actually is the GT4 or 991 Carrera S wheel color. It's actually a Porsche color. And he'd done that color before. He'd actually done that wheel once before. Since he's done mine, he's actually had a lot of other people who have come to him and said, I want that wheel. So they've actually seen me somewhere and said they want that wheel. So basically I think he uses someone else in the UK, but it's completely stripped off. It's done properly. It's not just a paint. It's a proper professional wheel process. The lip is painted silver, and the inside is grey, which is a Porsche color, which I don't have off the top of my head, but I could give it to you if you wanted that color. But it's called satin. What is it? Satin metallic or something? Platinum satin or something like that. It's actually a Porsche color.
Did he match the paint to your car? Or did he come up with the ingredients, or he got the actual Porsche paint?
He got the paint
for the silver.
Yeah, it's not matched to my color. It's not the same color as my car.
Oh, okay.
No, it's the same color as a GT4 wheel and a Carrera 901 Carrera S wheel.
You talking about the lip that goes around that color? No, I'm talking about the silver lip that goes around.
Oh, the silver lip. Oh, the silver lip.
Yeah, the silver lip.
Oh, that's just silver. That's not matched to the car. That was just painted silver. I thought he was just going to leave it with the wheel color underneath, but it's a 2-stage process. So it's just, I don't know what the color of that was. It was just painted silver. He just painted it silver. Because I wanted the two-tone, look. So, but I'm not sure what the color code of that was. But the inner side, the inner gray is actually a Porsche color. And then what made it easy with that? The easiest thing to do with that is that the center caps, the colored crest center caps, I didn't have to custom color paint them or do anything to them because the wheel color was a Porsche color, and I just bought the caps. He got the caps for me, and they match perfectly because the wheels are an actual true Porsche color wheel. So
yeah, if you can post that or just Send that to me. I would like to know.
Yeah, okay.
Because I'm thinking about actually getting another set of lobsters and doing that for that car, just to have another set of tires.
Yep.
Maybe winter tires if if I feel like I need to put those on if we have bad weather or something. But,
Yep. You could always paint them white, have white wheels.
Yeah, or gold, a little bling bling, no gold. Actually, the gold wheels look good on some cars.
They do,
especially
actually.
the older
Yeah.
cars, the 964s. There's a guy with the last Rasp. He has a green color with a gold contrast. I mean, people have some nice things they're doing in the cars, and it's the few brands that you can actually do that to, and actually say that looks good.
Yeah, no, you're right.
You can actually modify your car and say that looks pretty good.
Yeah, that 90s, that gold color was a bit of a 90s color, I think. It was pretty popular. I mean, it feels to me like it was a 90s color, but it is,
back now, everybody's like, I have this gold chain that my wife always say, now it's like gold.
But it's more matte, isn't it? It's more bronzy gold, those gold wheels. They're a bit hard to explain. They're not so bling. They're a bit more sort of brass. But that would look good too. Look, what would look really good on the Boxster? Like the new anniversary edition they brought out, the 25th anniversary, if you do the gold sort of wheels on that. That's actually a good
I agree.
Yeah.
At 17, though, I wonder if I can get it in 18. That's the thing. Those wheels are 17, and I don't want to. Some people put the big wheels in the Boxsters that don't look that good, like 19.
Big, no.
Yeah, so I wonder if I can get it in 7.
I think getting another set of lobsters and painting them, having second set of wheels is a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still out there for reasonably good prices. I mean, I got a very good price on mine just to buy them, but there's still some bargains out there for the lobster claws because a lot of people still don't like them. I don't understand why, but a lot of people still don't like them.
Yeah, that's strange. I think they're one of the best looking ones, honestly.
Yep,
they look great, and they're easy to clean too.
Absolutely, very easy.
You can get into it really easily. Yeah.
All right, Eric. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been great. Thanks for being on the podcast. It's been a great chat. Thank you. One and a Boxster S, 971 Carrera S and a Boxster S. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening to the PorscheCooled Podcast, and bye for now.